Hi guys, it's metal melting time, and as it's December when I'm saying this, it's gonna be the Christmas casting challenge. The challenge this time is very casual. Anything goes as long as it's Christmas related. Unfortunately, my plans to have Angelina Jolie model some Christmas stockings for us have fallen through, so I've had to make something instead. I started by recycling the wax that I used in my last casting, melting this and passing it through some fine stockings that I was hoping to tempt Angelina with. You'll see that I've made a cone-shaped mould from an old soda can, and I've also poured a little wax onto the back of some silicone moulds. That would give me some fairly flat, thin sections. And here these are cooled down. A craft knife makes easy work of scoring and slicing some sections. I bought some cheap wax carving tools on eBay. This one makes a nice job of tapering down one end. Here I'm gently but firmly putting a slight curve into each piece. Now comes the fiddly bit. The cone and the carved piece need their mating surfaces to be molten at the same time. This alcohol burner does a nice job, though it does get sooty despite claims that it doesn't. With one row done, it's a matter of adding another, but staggering the joins. And so on, with each progressive layer getting narrower and thinner. Eventually I reached something that I thought looked a little bit like a Christmas tree. I just needed to add something else. And how about this? The green baubles are still made of wax, it's just a different colour to make them stand out. There's a fair bit of wax here and I needed to attach a sprue, so I drilled a relief core to aid wax drainage, but more so to attach the sprue. Now, it was never meant to be a trunk, but it does look a little bit like one, doesn't it? This rubber flange seals the bottom of the stainless steel tube, and the sprue pushes perfectly into this. Then the stainless steel tube slides down over the top. Some casting investment plaster was mixed up and poured inside this, and the whole thing is vacuumed, and after a couple of hours the flange can be pulled free. Notice that the flange creates a nice pouring basin. This then got cooked in my electric foundry for several hours, all according to the manufacturer's instructions. It's not a fast process, but it steadily increases the temperature of the plaster, melts away all the wax, and leaves a Christmas tree shaped void in the plaster. Once the flask was ready, I could play with my new toy. The burner was connected, the air and gas adjustment valve was fully closed, the gas was turned on, and the foundry was lit with a weed burner. Just a little adjustment on the air gas valve instantly had the yellow flame turning a beautiful light blue. However, the flame seemed to splutter a little, and then I realised I hadn't inserted this piece of ceramic wool, so the torch was getting too much air. Then I loaded up my favourite and now only crucible with bronze and got to heating. It's worth noting I started with a gas pressure at only 0.1 atm. When I thought it wasn't getting any hotter, I raised the pressure to 0.2. and a few minutes later to 0.3. This achieved a white hot foundry in just a little over half an hour. After cleaning the dross from the surface of the molten bronze, I turned the gas back on to keep things nice and hot, and then I ran back into my garage to get everything ready. Then I retrieved the crucible from the foundry and carried it carefully through to my garage. The flask was roughly 600 degrees Celsius as I placed it on top of my homemade vacuum chamber. Then the white hot bronze was poured. Just before the pour, I activated my manual pump system by shouting at my wife. She in turn swore back, and this enabled the manual pumping to take place, so the chamber and the metal were put under vacuum. The metal seemed to remain molten for a few minutes, which kept my wife busy for a while. But eventually it froze up, and then I dunked the flask into a bucket of cold water. The water was hot but not scalding, so I was safely able to swirl things around and wash the plaster from the bronze. And look at that, not too shabby. And that's it. Okay, it's not perfect, but it was my first venture into actually sculpting something from wax, and I think it came out fairly well. Some of the sections were a bit too thin and not bonded sufficiently to allow the metal to flow, but the sprue cum trunk and the basin seemed, in my eyes at least, to make a perfect stand. So I ground the base flat and I hit it briefly with a wire brush attachment. And that was the total of my metal work, 99% casting and 1% metal work. But before the reveal, look at this. The casting gods were certainly on my side this time. I was very lucky. The crucible actually failed as I was carrying it. I never noticed this at the time, but luckily the metal remained inside the crucible. But that's my last crucible gone, so no more casting for me until the new year by the look of things. And also, don't forget this is a challenge, so do look out for my fellow challengers, Big Stack D and Art by Adrock, and see what Christmas related metal melts they've come up with. So, okay, the star never turned out, so we'll have to pretend that one. And the wax clearly wasn't as smooth as I thought it was, so some filing might improve things a little. But real trees aren't perfect and neither is this one, but it was fun experimenting with wax, and I plan to have a go at doing some proper wax carving in the future, especially if Santa brings me a new crucible. I hope you enjoyed this one, guys, and if you did, please like it. Please subscribe if you haven't already done so, and do share my videos with all your friends, even if it's just to annoy the hell out of them. So that's it for now guys, take care and thanks for watching.